Okay, sir, you have the floor.
All right, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to consider me for the interview for Superintendent Natchez Parish School Board. I was born in Morehouse Parish Schools. I went to Bastrop High School, graduated from there, finished my educational career, first degree at Northeast Louisiana University, which is currently now called ULM. And so from there, started working in the school, worked at Delta Junior High School, which was a 6th through 12th grade school. And I wanted to finish my bachelor's degree. And I was like, okay, I don't want to stop right here. And so I began to start completing my master's degree in administration and supervision. Because I knew if I had an elementary education, all I could do was teach. And so from there, I decided to go back and get my plus 30 in curriculum and instruction, because if I'm going to be a teacher, I need to know effective instructional strategies, how to assess instruction, and how to actually measure progress. And so I finished my master's degree plus 30 as well. I started working on my doctorate degree, and I was married and had a lot of responsibility.
Life gets in the way.
Oh, it does, I tell you. May have gotten too much in the way. We ended up getting divorced. I got married to my career. At any rate, I've been doing that for a little while. So then I started teaching. I was teacher of the year my first year, working in my second year, because I know that you have to be dedicated in what you do. I don't look at my position as a job, it's a career. And when you have a career, you take care of what you have. And so from there, I was an instructional facilitator. After 3 years in the classroom, my job was to monitor instructional strategies of teachers, make sure they had the resources that they needed in order to teach, make sure that their tests were aligned to state standards, and make sure that I taught those classes in the absence of that homeroom teacher. Therefore, the students would be able to get the instructional strategies that they need. From there, I began to apply for assistant principal's position, and I was assistant principal at an elementary school for 1 year. Did well. The superintendent came and talked to me and asked me to leave and transfer the first day of school to go to another school. And I told him, I said, okay, you're the superintendent. I want to serve the children where I'm best needed, and keep it at heart that the children are the reason why we're in the position. If it weren't for the children, we wouldn't have our jobs. And so I went over there for that year, and then the superintendent, the last day of school, asked me to go back over to the elementary school, because he was saying that the students were getting disrupted. So I went back, and as I was obedient to him and serving him faithfully, that same year I was promoted to the central office as a coordinator of federal summons. I also have experience as a social studies coordinator, a science coordinator, homeless liaison, making sure that the students had the uniforms, supplies, and everything they needed for school, to make sure that we eliminate the barriers so that they will have a true, equitable, and fair education. Once I did that, I was the EL coordinator for students who had speaking English as a second language, to make sure that they had the information, make sure they had the resources, to make sure that they could be successful in the school as well.
So you had all that at one time?
No, sir. Well, some of it, yes. Not the coordinator position. As far as social studies and science, it was at different times. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But all at one time was the AL coordinator and the homeless liaison, as well as the parent involved.
That was at Morehouse?
Morehouse.
Yes, sir. We heard a little.
Yes.
We heard a little bit. A lot of hats.
Yes, sir. A lot of hats. I was also civil rights officer for the district. We were going through desegregation, and so my job was to make sure that I talked with IDRA, which is the International Cultural Development Research Center in Texas, to make sure that we were in compliance with the federal judge, and making sure that we make sure that our transportation routes was in compliance with what the judge was saying, as well as our hiring practices, and also our recruitment strategies for teachers, and making sure we assign teachers to the areas in which they were needed. Currently, I serve as the Federal Programs Director and Technology Director for the parish, and I oversee millions of dollars to make sure that our school system is in compliance with the federal government and all the state and local laws, and making sure that I also help with the general fund in areas where we're needed. Because as you know, we're very limited now. Unfortunately, we look at our children as numbers, and we shouldn't do that. There's a number attached to them for the dollar amount, and there's a number for academic achievement. But working with that and also making sure that we implement technology into our classrooms, that the teachers have these standards, and make sure that they have the instructional strategies for to teach children for the 21st century. Because we know that the students now, they're technology savvy, and so they learn a lot of information they know before we know. And so if we're going to teach them, at least we can give them something that they're familiar with.
Okay.
And providing professional development to teachers to make sure that they are adequately trained. I work in that area as well. I am a member of my father's church. I'm also a youth minister, and I work strongly with children. So children is my passion. I'm a director of a Bible college, C.H. Mason Bible College. I'm an executive board member of the National Association of Federal Program Administrators. And I'm also a former president, 3 times past president of our state organization as well. So I'm very busy when it comes to working in the community, in the churches. I'm a member of the Children's Coalition as well. And so I guess that's enough about me right now.
Well, that's good to know that.
Yes.
Again, we're gonna break into the questions. Ms. Palmer is gonna lead off the questions for us, and we'll be taking next. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Palmer.
How do you establish an effective professional development program and establish career tracks for employees?
Okay, in order to establish an effective professional development program, you have to conduct a needs assessment to actually see what is required of the teachers, because we can assume that teachers need training in certain areas, and they already probably know those strategies that we're trying to teach them. And so therefore, it could appear to be a waste of their time. And so we want to do a needs assessment to make sure that we align the training with the teacher's needs. And once we do the needs assessment, we can look at test scores, making sure that we are teaching what the state standards are testing, and then we can give them professional development according to that. When it comes to career tracks, we have to find out what interests teachers. There are some teachers who don't mind being mentor teachers or content leader. Mentor teachers are either math content leaders, reading content leaders. And so we find out an interest. So we give them a survey to see what areas or career paths that they're looking for. And so once we get that data, then we can adequately get with the cabinet to see what type of professional development that is needed. You're welcome.
Any follow-up? Ms. Palmer, I think you also have questions too.
My second question. What is your experience with improving a school or school district? What steps would you suggest for negative parents?
My experience in improving a school, first of all, is that making sure that you go and observe what's going on. You have to look at the test data. You have to look at the discipline data. You have to look at the perception of the school by taking a triangulation of data, surveys from parents, surveys from the community, to see exactly what we need to improve upon. Because there's a lot of areas we can improve on, we just got to target those areas. And we have to eat that elephant piece by piece or one bite at a time. And so my experience is going in, adequately conducting informal and formal observations, looking for patterns and preponderance of evidence of where we need to work on. Then also research-based strategies is what you have to see. You have to identify what fits for this particular school. Do you need the cooperative learning strategy? Are students working together? Are teachers implement direct instruction? Or he just talking to everyone? To make sure that we have meaningful, engaged learning in our schools and also response to intervention. So once you identify those strategies, then you will be able to know what steps to go from there. And for improving the school district or school, you have to think about the stakeholders at large, the people that work with you in their areas, because no one knows everything. Know that the superintendent is responsible for everything, and everybody's going to look at him or her. However, together everyone achieves more, and that's what's called a team. And so after you get all of your data, after you talk to your stakeholders, then you come up with SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, and realistic, as well as timely. And once the committee get together and work on that, then that's how you improve academic achievement. You have to get the parents on board. We can tell our students anything. We can teach them all day long. But if the parents are not on board, it can go in one ear, as they say, and out the other. So you have to have parental involvement. You have to have effective leadership in the schools. The principals are going to have to know the curriculum as well, be able to model lessons, and be able to show their staff their expectations of what they are actually looking for. And you have to have teacher effectiveness in improving the school district. Teachers have to be effective. And the first thing is developing a relationship with your students. If you do not touch their hearts, you cannot touch their minds. Then, after we do that, you have to have professional development. You have to train the teachers, train everyone about what they need to do. Then we have digital convergence. We know students, like I said earlier, with the technology, we try to implement the one-to-one, train the teachers on that, help them to be able to establish that as well. And also we have to celebrate our successes in order to improve student achievement in the school district. Because if you don't, then the people will write your story. It takes 20 positives to erase one negative. And my suggestions for Natchez Parish Schools would be get all of the stakeholders together. You would have parents, representatives, student representatives, teacher representatives, community representatives, school board representatives. We'll have focus groups, and we will meet together to see where we should go and develop that vision together so we can have buy-in. Because you, as superintendent, you may have a vision, but then the principals are going to have to carry the vision into their schools. So it doesn't need to be my vision, it needs to be our vision. So that is my suggestion for Natchez Parish.
Any follow-up, Mr. Winston? Thank you for the answer.
Thank you.
What experience do you have in budgets? And how do we ensure that we're being physically responsible with our financial resources, and how do we communicate that to our board and to community stakeholders?
Well, I've been in central office in an administrative position for 15 years. And so working with budgets is my thing. So I'm over Title I, Title II, Title III immigrant, Title IV SSAE, or Safe and Drug-Free Schools, over EEF, which is tobacco money, and also school redesign. So budgets, my experience is you have to make sure you look at all the categories. You have to identify what the budget is for. Once you develop a needs assessment to see what actually do you need, then you have to look at the personnel, which is the 100 categories. You look at the 200 categories, which is the employee benefits, to make sure that we are spending in alignment with school budgets. Then we look at the consultants and the things that we contract out for the district to have to do, any leases or things like that, any property, and also materials and equipment. So that's the experience that I have in working with budgets. Every year I have millions of dollars to come up with a budget and also incorporate that into one budget from the schools into a consolidated budget and get that approval before the board. We have to make sure we're fiscally responsible by conducting audits. External audits as well as internal audits. Once you find out what's going on, because the CFO, and some people call them the business managers, they give us reports every month. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure that the monies are in the categories in which they are supposed to be, to make sure that we are in the 25% limit before we can do a budget revision. And so we just look at where the money is going. And in order to be fiscally responsible, is putting the children first, because that is where the rubber meets the road in the schools. My budgets, I only have 2 coordinators. Before I was hired, we had 6. I was a coordinator, but I decided the money needs to go into the schools. And so that's where, what I did, and that's how we communicate that to our board. To the board, you let them know, these are the goals and objectives that we want. You communicate that verbally, in writing. There are several ways. And also, the community stakeholders, let them know that we are responsible for the money. They're entrusting us to spend money that's going to help educate their children.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Winston.
Good evening.
What steps do you take to establish good public relations and communication plans with all stakeholders in this district?
Okay, from the experience, and I think I've said some of that, you would get your focus groups. You would have the stakeholders, the representatives from each component. Like I said, the teachers, you would have the Kiwanis Club, you would have the Chamber of Commerce. You would get all of those, the ministers, the resource officers involved, because we're going to have to work together in order to reach the results that the feds are placing on us, as well as the states. And so you communicate that by letting them be a part of that. We will have public forums, quarterly forums, to let them know what our vision is, give us the status of the vision, to make sure that we are actually doing what we say we're going to do. So just actually being accountable, letting them know, building relationships first, getting to know them, getting them to know me, to make sure that we are doing the best thing for all of the stakeholders.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Winston, based on your knowledge, what do you perceive are the top 3 issues in our parish, and what is your plan to address them?
Okay, the first thing that I would say would be, I would think parental involvement. I think a lot of times that parents, they had a bad experience in school. Some parents, not all parents. And so if they weren't treated the way that they should have, they have a negative perception of school. And so what we have to do is, when it comes to parent engagement, let them know that we're here in this together. That as an educator, we're not up here. We should be here to meet our audience. And so one way to do that would be to have our family math nights, our family literacy nights, get back to father figures in our schools, mentors from the ministers to come in, resource officers to come, because we know that right now is a bad publicity with policemen and, the way that things are going. But if they actually see policemen in the schools, they'll have a respect for them and build that relationship. And I think that also having those forums with the parents, and also conducting home visits. I've done that before, because if they don't come to us, then we need to go to them. And so I think it's imperative and incumbent upon us. If they don't come to us, then we need to go to them. Now that's parental involvement. One thing would be probably morale as far as the curriculum is concerned. We have a lot of teachers now. We have to teach outside the box. It's nothing that, it's nothing new, because they always give us standards. But of course, if we don't want to change, then are we really shortchanging our children? And so when it comes to morale, you just make sure that they know that we're gonna be fair, firm, and consistent with everybody. And so, when you're fair, firm, and consistent, that helps with the morale. People know that you're gonna be a man or woman of your word, to make sure you establish a relationship. Speaking of fair, firm, and consistent, my mother, before I was promoted to central office, and I always think, I said, this might be a test. She did not have a lesson plan. So you did not have a rule that you need to have your lesson plans in your box on Monday mornings at 8 o'clock. Or, you know, you're gonna have to suffer consequences. Well, I went in this particular morning and she didn't have hers. So, of course, I had to write her up, just like I did the other teachers at the school that I was assigned. And so one evening we had a faculty meeting. And I was reminding the faculty, you know, about expectations, because if something happened to them, we need to have some lesson plans, you know, for subs, so we can go ahead and have school. And she raised her hand, and I said, yes, Ms. Winston, can I help you? She said, he wrote me up, you all. And those teachers and paraprofessionals, everybody started looking at me, you wrote your mom, you wrote your mom. And I had to get the meeting back under control. I said, yeah, I said, but if I wrote her up, then you know what I have to do. I think being fair, firm, and consistent is key to know you're going to treat everybody the same. And I think another issue would be working in silos. Different departments think that they own certain things. And so, just from my experience, and so I'm using some of my experience because I've been in education for 23 years. So I got a feeling that I'm only 2 hours in some way, so it's got to be some of the same issues that we all had, if I had to guess. But with that, we just have to make sure that we do what we need to do to help in all areas, because we know that God is really holding us responsible, basically, for the children. And I've seen where we, and even as supervisors, you have to be careful of what decisions that we make, because we say we for the children, but sometimes our actions don't always depict that. And so we have to have a heart to do the right thing, even when it's not popular.
Okay. Mr. Emile. Ms. Sheffield.
No, I didn't offer even.
Yes, she stepped out. We'll go ahead. We'll take her question in a minute. Go ahead, George.
What experience have you had with a transportation program, and how do you manage a contract system?
Okay, the experience I've had, you know, every after school tutoring. So, you know, we believe in getting the transportation and making sure those routes are effective for the students, because we do not want children to take opportunities that can help them because they don't have the transportation. So, in working with transportation, the transportation coordinator and director, we come up with the routes to see what we need to do, what's best for the district. We also use a system which is the VersaTran system, which you can put the routes into the computer, and it can, you know, draw the lines for you in order for us to have an effective routing system. We won't have buses waving at each other, the bus drivers. You're going down the same road and you're waving at each other if we can have it. And so my experience with contracted system is that first you have to have an RFP to make sure that you have a bidding process in place, especially when it's over a certain amount of dollars. So once you identify what program that you need, then you will conduct and develop an RFP. You will put it out there at least for 30 days. And after you do that, then you will receive all of the bids and open them with a committee, of course. And so you will take notes and you will come up with a rubric to score all RFPs the same. And once after the RFPs have been accepted, the board will vote on those RFPs and vote on a contract. After the contract has been implemented and signed between the superintendent and the consultant of the director, or whoever is over the contract, then you have a set of expectations of what you're expecting. And so you'll monitor that, periodically to make sure that the, vendor is, keeping their word.
Any thoughts on that? Reverend Harris.
I'm gonna recapitulate just a bit back to the other question. Something was asked, and you said it twice about parental involvement. And I hadn't heard a whole lot of folks comment on it because all over the nation, they're having a problem with parental involvement.
Yes.
And so how would you go about getting parents involved? Seeing that I know we have 2 schools, I know for sure, that has a large parental involvement, and those schools do well academically as well.
Correct. What you have to do, we can do, what's called compacts, which, is an agreement that you have, teachers, students will sign, and also the administrator as well as the parent. And each one will have specific sections of what they're going to do. And so usually people abide by contracts, and do that. You can also, have a parent involvement contact person at each school, such as I have. We have a contact person, and that person is responsible for all of the activities that go on in the school. We have J calls, we send out letters, we send out flyers, we send out all calls, inviting the parents to come. I have, a Saturday academy, for students. It's for parents and students. And these are students that, have gotten into trouble. And so we try to give them a fresh start. So I've contracted out with a consultant, a parent certified consultant, and it's non-judgmental. They come in, we feed them breakfast, and we also feed them lunch, snacks. And so with this program, they teach students conflict resolution, they teach parents parenting skills, and so we have it set up where they can come to 3 sessions. And if there's a student who's been, has failed, we take out so many days off their expulsion to give them kind of like a fresh start. And if a parent comes a 4th time, then we have what's called parent graduation. And so at the end of the year, I have a reception for parents, and then we have a kind of like a certificate when they graduate in front of the board at one of our meetings.
Wow.
Sounds like a really nice program.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
We need something of that nature.
So how do you encourage the parents to attend the Saturday Academy?
Well, like I said, it's the relationship building. They know that we're not there to judge them. They come, they're there with their children, and it's a community effort. There are some parents that have to work, of course, and I tell them, I'll be your parent today. You know what I'm saying? Because all the children in the district belongs to me. It doesn't matter what position that you are. And so we encourage them to come. It's optional, but we have probably about 25 of these parents saying we do it 3 times a month.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of work on me, but I'm used to working anyway. And so, like I say, we'll do that. Alice?
You said something, you said non-judgmental,
Yes.
and from my community, I've heard that over and over again, the reason they don't want to come to this place or that place in our school system.
Yes.
Uh,
You have to be non-judgmental. You have to change the climate. That's how people feel. The first perception, the first time you see a person, that's the lasting impression. And so if a person, that's why it's very important that secretaries in the schools and the central office, you greet people with a smile. No matter how bad a person feels, they might be mad, but if you just smile at them, even if they're mad at you, they're like, oh, something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? We got like icebreaker. And so then they kind of help change the culture, of how things go.
The love boat method.
Yes, sir. Love and kindness. That's right. Yes, sir.
Ms. Phelps, question 6.
Thank you for stating that for me. I'm sorry I had to say
That's
that.
okay, I understand.
I'm glad you.
I made it. What steps would you take to evaluate the current leadership positions within the central office? Provide a time when you had to repurpose an employee to move to a more productive position.
Okay, so the step that I would take, as superintendent or any position that you come in, it's very wise that you observe first to see what's going on, and to see how things are done in the organization. But the first step would be to look at the organizational chart, to see who reports to whom. And then once you do that, then you look at the job descriptions to make sure that those job descriptions line up with the positions. And so then you look at the evaluation instruments to make sure that the evaluation instruments match what the job description is actually required. From the past, I've seen job descriptions and evaluations sometimes don't match, and that's why it's very difficult when you put a person in a position. It's a vague evaluation and it doesn't match the evaluation. And then once that is done, then you will bring that before the board to change the personnel manual for those job descriptions and hold them accountable. All along, when you first come, you observe informally. Informal observations will lead to the evaluation. And what I would do is require that we do at least one for district staff. But when I was administrator and I got these new positions, I conducted 2 observations. I wanted to see what they were supposed to do. I wanted them to know that they were accountable, that I was really looking for it. So I was sure in the fall, I would do a formal observation, and then I would do a formal observation in the spring, and then I would take those 2 and add them to the evaluation.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, now providing a time when you have to repurpose an employee to move to a productive position, I've had to do that, of course. I've been in the central office for 15 years, and so and I'm over several, like you say, hats. Right now, I feel like I got fellas in those hats, but it's okay. What you have to do is see what the strengths and weaknesses of your people are. You can empower people, and that's the key. When you empower your staff, they will almost do anything that you want them to do. But there's one time I had to repurpose an employee, was in the area, and so I had to make a transfer from one department to another. And therefore, it made the organization run more smoothly because their strengths were not in one area, but it was another. And it's our job to help people to find, what they are good at. We don't throw the book out at everybody if they're willing to do their jobs.
Reverend Harris.
Right? Mr. Winston, we have a large African-American student population here in Natchez Parish.
Yes, sir.
How do you foresee enhancing meaningful administrative positions for qualified African-Americans throughout our parish?
Okay. I foresee making sure that we advertise to make sure that we have qualified people, not only for the African Americans, but it's very important that we get the best people for any position. But when it comes to African American students and students of poverty, that's what I deal with, been dealing with for 15 years. Actually, I've been working at for 23 years, because all the schools I've taught at or worked at have been Title I schools. So the thing is, most African American males, they want to see who represent them, because that's what they're used to seeing. And then once you establish that relationship with them, then you can teach them that it is more besides just our race, that you can trust other races and other cultural diverse people as well. I think students, especially poverty, African Americans, they look up to a male because that's what's missing in most of the homes. And unfortunately, I think our school system across the nation has gotten out of control because single parents, and it's not their fault, but they have to provide for their families. So then African American males feel as though they have to be the man of the house, and so it's very confusing for them. They have to be the big person at home, and then when they transition to the school, then they're still in that role, so they don't know how to take that role off. But it's up to us as educators to let them know that, there are boundaries, we have to teach them respect and responsibility. And I think that if you would give them someone who they relate to, sometimes it works out there with that. But there are other races that can deal and handle African Americans as well. So we just can't say give an African American male a male administrator is going to help, because sometimes it does not. Because sometimes the African American male is the enemy too.
Right.
That because it's how he has treated his mother or something like that in the home, and so they tend not to look up to another African American male. So in order to get the high qualified people that we need in any position, when it comes to African Americans, Caucasians, Indians, doesn't matter, is advertise, have a committee in place to screen the top 3 applicants. Is what I do on a day-to-day basis. And then therefore you can get the most qualified people in those positions. And it is very difficult to get an administrator in an African American school, and we do have that. It's time to offer incentive and sign-in bonuses to get those individuals in those schools.
Great.
Any thoughts?
No,
Ms. Summer?
Why do you think schools in the same district have significant differences in academic progress and academic achievement? Please explain how you would address this, and if applicable, provide examples where you have done so.
Okay. I think that schools in the same district have significant differences in academic process and academic achievement because the climate and culture of each school is different. Zip code should not matter, but it does in certain areas. So we have to make sure that we have equity and equal access for all. Just because you give someone the same resources, if I give you $5 and I give you $5, that's equitable. But it's not equal access if she already has $5 to go to the movies and only she has $5. Now, I've been fair in the process because I have a good heart. But then again, I need to delve and see what's going on and be an educational surgeon and come up with a diagnosis to see that. Even though I've given her $5, she's not as happy as she is with her $5 because she already has $5. So then I need to come and give her equal access and say, well, here's another $5 so that you can go to the movies also. So that's what we need to do is look at the climate and culture of our schools, look at the parental involvement at those schools. As the gentleman just said, when you have high parental involvement in the school, then yes, you have an increase in academic achievement. Now, what I would do is, if you have a school that's excelling and that school is doing something good, I think we need to establish a mentor relationship with principals and assign them to another school to help the other principal out. Because if you're a family, then we should share the wealth. I mean, I should not hide there's no silver bullet or silver penny, but I should not be so selfish to hide my instructional strategies or my resources from someone else. Because when I fail, you fail, and when you fail, I fail. So we in it to win it. So all of us got to just work together to do that. So that's how I would do it. And also, like I say, have meetings and meet with the faculty groups, meet with student groups to see actually what is going on in those schools. I would also have maybe some teachers to do mentor observations to see lessons, not, constructive criticism, but just I'm here to try to help because we're a district, we're a family. And so we learn from each other.
Yes, sir. What will you do to increase dual enrollment and jumpstart pathways?
Okay, what I would do to increase dual enrollment and jumpstart pathways, is I would meet with all of the principals in the cabinet and the instructional cabinet, and we will have to come together to see what plan that we're going to have. We're going to look at the data. That's first and foremost, because if the school is already doing well with certain dual enrollments in one school, then we need to try to get the resources over there to put it in place at the other school. Jumpstart pathways is actually seeing what interest. We need to conduct interest inventory surveys for students to see what paths are they interested in. Do we want to put barbershop into our schools and cosmetology? Also, we've done that in the summertime for the 21st Century program. And so students like stuff like that. So I think the way that we need to do it is involve the teachers, the principals, the instructional cabinet, and also the students, so we can make sure that we find out something meaningful to the students, because it's easy for us to come up with a jump start program or dual enrollment, but if the children are not interested in it, then it's really a waste of time and resources.
You mentioned the 21st Century program.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you elaborate?
Yes, I'm sorry. The 21st Century program is an after-school tutoring program, and that program I work along with the project director, and we pool our funds together. But we offer credit recovery to students who are failing, and also we offer after-school tutoring for students as well, and we provide snacks with the nutrition director, and so therefore we can have that program. And basically, it's a fun component in it as well, where students can have art or music. One time we had Zumba, stuff like that. So keep them active, something that I probably need to do tonight, but but it makes it interesting for them. We had karate one time, and so we just do that. So that's what we need to do when it comes to increasing dual enrollment, seeing exactly a needs assessment. What are they doing? Check into the local businesses of what we already have. Getting with the Chamber of Commerce to see what businesses are a part of the Chamber of Commerce, and then we can draft a plan to incorporate those jumpstart programs in the school. Just need to know what businesses are out there, and then we can come and survey the students.
Mr. Winston,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you're familiar that Northwestern hosts one of the #1 online programs
Yes,
in all the country. And so when we talk about dual enrollment, it could be pretty inexpensive to do dual enrollment.
that is so true. And with my experience with dual enrollment, the federal funds can help in that area as well.
That's a big part of that, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, they will.
Okay.
Ms. Winston, what steps would you take to improve teacher and leadership around that would not involve additional funding?
All right, the steps that I would take to improve teacher and leadership around that would not include additional funding is just being a listener, including them as a part of the team. A lot of times, teachers get overlooked. They may want to be the department head or the chair this year. And I think the teachers, the principals, need to rotate that stuff around. You don't need to have the same person all the time, being the chairperson of this, or being the 4-H club member of this. But I think we need to share, leadership roles. And I think that would help the teacher morale, letting the teachers know that this person sees me, they think a lot of me, they ask me to that. I also think you can do surveys, check the climate and culture of the school, and as a leader, how effective I am. Constructive criticism, and you could do it anonymously, where you can get a report and see how the staff and the leaders at the school perceive you as their supervisor. And when it comes to leadership, that goes with the principal or the teacher, you know what I just said. I mean, just including them in those roles, putting them on committees, making them feel welcome to participate, and actually sharing ideas, receiving ideas, respecting everybody. It goes back to our pillars of character: respect, responsibility, citizenship, being trustworthy, fair, and loyal. Those things will help you increase teacher and leadership. Right?
That was the last question, but would you mind showing us your Zoom again?
You know, I have a question for you, Winston.
Yes, sir.
You know, you mentioned something, which is really kind of a double-edged sword. You know, include people on part of the team, offer them committee assignments and things like that. You know, a lot of people, when you go to help them, you actually leave them something to do. They don't like that. And so how do you build that inclusion and get them on board? So they don't look at it as, why do I have to do this?
Well, basically, that's what I was just saying. You can have an application process. And I think that's what needs to be done, because that way you will know what area the people, you know, want to work in. Just like we were saying about being ineffective. You know, if I put someone in a position and they're ineffective, then it's not going to do me any good, because I'm going to have to do the work. So I try to hire the right people within the 15 years, because I know if I don't, I'm going to have to be the one that have to do it until I get the documentation to get rid of and hire someone else. So I think if we have application process in place, you won't know it and survey them. You know, you won't know what their interests are until they actually put it on paper. And for the ones who don't want to, then you start motivating them by having drawings. You can have different gift cards or donations from the chamber, and they just pull randomly to help for those that have participated.
Well, we've reached the end of our questions, and so your closing remarks, sir?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, actually, not really. You have 8 minutes, and you got about 10. You have 2 minutes to spare.
Okay, all right. Well, I just would like to say that I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to interview. I have an entry plan, if selected as superintendent, and I will leave this with you because the application process only asks for application, resume, and proof of certification. And when I looked at the rest of them, I saw other things. But I do have something that I can leave, and I leave some with the public as well, just stating the goals. Introduction, which is introducing myself to the community in the months of July and August to make a smooth transition with the current superintendent or either the administrative staff. Then the phase 2 would be listening to understand, having committees together so that we can see what is going on, surveying the community, surveying students, surveying parents, and also district leaders and board members. And then also making sense of the data that's been collected, and we'll analyze all of that. And then we'll have engagement and planning process November, December, so that we can start working on the SMART goals beginning in July 1. Because the first year of any position is learning the rules and regulations as far as the dynamics of the school. And teaching and being a leader is my passion. Like I said, I've been here 23 years, and of that 23 years, 15 has been in administration. And you can lead a horse to water, it's an old adage, but you can't make them drink. But if you feed them and give them some salt, you will make them thirsty. And you have a hard job to pick the next superintendent. And, and I know, and I'm going to pray for you that you get who the district, get the best person for the district. And know that, as Frederick Douglass said, it is easy to build a strong child than to repair a broken adult. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Winston, we will meet again March 3rd. We will be selecting the candidates that will move forward in the process. Every candidate that interviewed with us will receive a call on March 4th. Let them know their status.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Have a safe trip back.
All right.